Heyo people, excuse the backdrop, I'm kinda between videos and I just didn't know what to put here, so we're just gonna roll with it. But like I promised in my Top 10 Pleasant Surprises of 2006 video, I said if I found my old script notes for the 1990 video, where, you know, I said, oh, I wrote them down, the pleasant surprises from that video, but I lost them, and, you know, never made that video. Guess what? I fucking found them! So, yeah, here we go. But apparently I misremembered. I thought I had 10 pleasant surprises. Turns out I only had 8. I don't know, 1990 was kind of a rough year. But what the hell, let's go through it. These are the top 8 pleasant surprises from the 1990 rock charts, rock video, old video. You probably know what I'm talking about if you're here on the Patreon level, but if not, watch this video, and then this video will probably make more sense. Got it? Peter Murphy. Wow, this was interesting. I'm not a huge Bauhaus fan necessarily. I like what I've heard from them, but I by no means stan or anything. And I was unaware of, you know, singer Peter Murphy. He had a pretty extensive solo career after the band broke up, and he had hits throughout the 80s and 90s, and this was one of his biggest ones in 1990. And you know, I gotta admit, I really dug this. It's so acoustic and blissful, like eerily blissful and melodious as hell. This is like so much more serene and calming and just kind of straight up poppy than anything Bauhaus ever did. It's this wonderful little slice of pleasant goth rock. No, well, not even goth rock, I'd say. It's more like goth pop. It's almost straight up pop. It almost doesn't even belong on the rock charts. 1990 was a year where everyone was trying everything and just absolutely nothing could stick. I want to live in the alternate timeline where goth pop was the next big thing that took hold instead of grunge or alternative or whatever. I want to live in the alternate timeline where we got the full goth 90s. Like that, I feel like that would have been so freaking cool. You know what, even nu metal would have sprung out of that pop goth movement, and it would have been so much better for it. I don't know, but this was a pleasant, wonderful little song. It makes me want to check out more of Peter Murphy's other solo stuff, honestly. Even though the dude in the music video could be wrong, but I'm almost positive that is not how that works. Again, speaking of, like, poppy, gothy stuff, 90 was such a tumultuous year that, again, weird stuff like this could find its way onto the rock charts. Like, I really like this. It reminds me kind of that Southern death cult, or just death cult style of music, before they became the Cult and went all Sonic Temple and whatnot. The legacy of the Cult is very weird. And again, that sort of late 80s, early 90s kind of goth feeling aesthetic, those sort of dark undertones, but with that pleasant radio popness to it. You know, it's got those really deep-seated bass tones and a really squelchy and like screaming guitar. It almost sounds like a goth 80s U2. Like if Joshua Tree was much darker, it might sound something akin to this. And I kind of love that. Remember that song from The Alarm that was number 10 on the 90 video? If they'd sounded something more like this, I can't help but feel like it might have gone over a little bit better. But again, another pleasant surprise, another weird out-of-nowhere song you wouldn't have expected to see on a list like this, and I don't think this is the official video. Oh, this is just so adorably cheap. I love it either way. You know, for all the fun I made of their name, for all the cheap little shots I poked at them throughout the 1990 and the 2006 video, I gotta admit, the song that made the charts this year is pretty damn good for what it is, at least. The opening bass line of this song really, really rules, and the production, particularly on like hair metal style stuff for this era, it's really pretty good. It brings out the strengths in everybody. And you know, for a hair metal band, they can play pretty decently, and their singer has a very pleasant, kind of raspy, deeper kind of voice. He doesn't go on the shrill kind of bullshit that hair metal had way too much of. Play Cinderella clip here. No, this is the more pleasant side of hair metal. This is very, very tolerable. I honestly found myself liking this. The thing is, it's just, this came out in 90, so it's just way too past its time. If a song like this had come out in, like, say, 85 or 86, oh, I could see these guys just blowing the hell up, even with a name as lame as Sleazebeast. Like, just listen to that killer acoustic solo. An acoustic solo in the middle of a shredding hair metal ass song. They pull it off! They pull it off, and more power to them. Throughout 1990, the biggest problem was all these hair metal bands, or just these dinosaur bands that sounded so old and worn out and out of ideas, and there was just nothing going on to care about. But these guys, I'd have to credit where it's due. At least with this song, they were an exception. I found myself really liking this, and even revisiting it for the 2006 video, I was pleasantly surprised. It actually made me want to, you know, dig through my old notes to find, my old notes on this, because it was the Sleazebeast song that I remembered. Oh yeah, I'm poking fun at Sleazebeast, but I actually really liked their song. I should dig that up. Basically, you can thank Sleazebeast for this video entirely. There you go. Thanks, Sleazebeast. Okay, so yes, weird sitar intro that immediately transfers into funk metal, dude. And like, listen to how thick that sound is too, you know? This was that early 90s kind of funk metal, you know, that Living Colour, that Faith No More, that kind of really thick and heavy shit. And you know, these guys, they're kind of in a weird in-betweeny kind of place, because they definitely have that thick, funkier sound, but you can definitely tell they're still trying to do the hair metal thing. I would say these guys probably fall more on the extreme side of the funkier metal sound, you know? It's got the funkier elements, but the more crass and kind of goofy side is what really dominates here. These guys ain't gonna write like Cult of Personality or Midlife Crisis or anything cool like that. It's strictly stupid all the time, but you know? Those riffs are chunky, them vibes are fun. I could get down to this, and I indeed did get down to this. It's stupid, but it's a fun kind of stupid, and again, with 1990, there was plenty of stupid that wasn't fun, you know? Again, credit where it's due. Okay, I mean, I can't say that anything with David Bowie on it is like, oh, I'm surprised this Bowie song was good. Oh, what a shock. But the thing is, though, this is not a Bowie song. Bowie is featuring on this song. This is actually a track by artist Bowie and Baloo. In fact, I had to check and double check that that was the case here, because like 90% of the videos or other tertiary footage I can find of this song say it's a David Bowie song featuring Bowie and Baloo, and no, It's technically the other way around. This song, it's in kind of a weird place, because this is very clearly 80s Bowie we have going on here with the song structure and the general lyricism and whatnot. It's very 80s Bowie, but the guitar work on play here, it's more like that 70s era glam Bowie, and it wasn't often we saw these two styles work together. And you know, it's kind of nice. I'm nostalgic for two different Bowie eras at once. That's actually very impressive. You know, you could argue that this song is like the last little flicker of 80s Bowie we get before, before 90s Bowie happens. I mean, y'all, I get it. 90s Bowie is definitely hit or miss. Tin Machine era Bowie is just not everyone's cup of tea. But I would say this is one of those things that falls way more on the side of hit than miss. Like, even if you're not a huge fan of later period Bowie, it's worth a spin. I mean, it's dorky Bowie for sure. You know, I like dorky Bowie. Even at his dorkiest, David Bowie was still, David goddamn Bowie. Like Sleazebeast, this was one of those songs that basically just made me want to make this video, because I've known about this song for a very, very long time. I had a friend in college who his dad was a big indie rock snob, so, how I've explained, I was the weird kid who was listening to Nirvana and Metallica when I was 6 years old. Well, he was the weird kid who was listening to, REM and, Talking Heads when he was 6 years old. So we got along great. And he introduced me to this band, and this was their big hit from 1990, and y'all, it's a great song, but man, is it a sad one. It really, really is one of those bawl your eyes out tracks if it hits you in just that right way. The song is actually about singer Johnette Napolitano's relationship with the Wall of Voodoo guitarist, who apparently struggled with very, very bad alcoholism. Alcoholism that would eventually take his life, and when you listen to the lyrics, I just stand by and let you fight your secret war. Ow. And you have to give it up for Johnette's just raspy, fucking throaty, just powder keg of a voice. She really does just sing like a friggin' banshee. It's great. In fact, if she looks and sounds a bit familiar to you, there's probably a good reason. Any of y'all remember Struck a Nerve? I cannot ignore the stimuli. Yep, that's her. And Concrete Blonde, they are one of those 90s bands that people really forget about. They had a lot of pretty decent stuff, but again, you could argue they were maybe a little ahead of their time. They're one of those bands people sleep on. They're one of the bands from the early 90s a lot of people forget, because they were part of that early alternative wave that grunge just annihilated. So, they kind of get swept away, but I would recommend digging up their best of collection, just poking around in there and seeing what you like, because Concrete Blonde, I mean, they weren't the Cranberries or anything, but lots and lots of solid as hell bangers, and this one is definitely one of those. Maybe the best song they ever wrote. Just seriously, go find Joey. I'll change your heart. Don't be afraid of the dark. I mean, again, I'm sure just one listen of this and you can already tell why it wasn't more successful. By 1990, this shit was just the way of the dinosaur. But, this was a nice little monster ballad. And the 1990 list, it was just so chock full of lame duck hair metal stuff. So many monster ballads that really did suck. And even if this is still kind of cheesy and dated, I'd say it falls on the better side of that. It's you know, it's a monster ballad I definitely don't mind sitting through. Again, it's one of those cases where they can play solidly enough. Their singer isn't bad. It's possible I'm just being kind because of all the stuff I heard on the 90s charts that was like this but sucked really, really bad. But, you know, again, a nice little monster ballad. Again, maybe if this had come out like 3 or 4 years earlier, it might have had a stronger chance, but not really. If you're into monster ballads, yeah, I would definitely give this one up. I figured, like, I'm not anti-monster ballad. Give me a good monster ballad. Give me an Every Rose Has Its Thorn. I'm there for it, you know. I'll give Poison 1 point. Credit where it's due. You know, this is another really weird one. It's that late 80s, early 90s alternative sound blended with Irish folk and kind of like Celtic folk kind of overtones. It's really weird because nobody else was doing stuff like this. Again, just credit where it's due to the 1990 charts because, like, they were eclectic. There was a wide variety of stuff that was trying to make the charts. People were eager to just give anything a chance, so a lot of weird and interesting acts found their way up there. And the problem with the 2006 charts is just every other thing on the charts is butt rock, dad rock, butt rock, buck cherry, kill me. And this was unique. There's not really anything else I could compare this to necessarily. Apparently these guys were a much bigger deal in Ireland's 90s than our 90s, but again, it's one of those things, dare I say it, I feel like these guys might have been too ahead of their time. I mean, you put something like this on like 1996 VH1 or something, you know, put this alongside like Lisa Loeb and Blues Travelers and the Wallflowers, you know, I could have seen this going off. It probably would have connected really well with that crowd. I think they just broke over here a little too early. Maybe they were just too unique for us to really hook into. I don't know, maybe they were just too Irish. This is pretty Irish. But again, another weird relic of the 90s alternative scene that, again, just got completely annihilated once grunge happened. That was pleasant and nice, and it kind of speaks to an alternate future of alternative music that we didn't happen to get. I'd say if you dug like The Alarm, or if you dig Concrete Blonde and like them, dig this up too. I feel like it'll be worth a listen. Again, a nice little relic that just didn't get a fair shake. And there we go. That's the top pleasant surprises from 1990. Again, I'm really glad I found my old notes and was able to make this for you. Still working on the next major video. Don't know what it's going to be yet, but stay tuned and I will keep you guys updated. And hopefully you will hear from me soon. I will see you when I see you.